So now that we're 3 episodes into The Last of Us Season 2, I've got a lot to say. I did not cover the first 2 weeks because I was out of the country on vacation, and I came back, watched all 3 of these, and there's so much on my mind. Not just as a fan of the show, but this game, Part 2 in particular, is my most favorited game of all time. In fact, on the way to my vacation destination, I spent the entirety playing Part 2 again on my Steam Deck. It is my favorite game of all time. This story means so much to me that I really need this season to knock it out of the park. But I know with saying that, this isn't going to be a one-for-one recreation, just like how Season 1 wasn't one-for-one with the events that happened in the first game. It followed that same story, but there were minor differences, and it is the exact same thing here. While I'm going to focus on the 3rd episode with this video because it's the most recent and new one, I'm going to talk about all of the changes that we've seen between the 1st episode, 2nd episode, and this one to the source material. Before we get too far into it, guys, we're on the road to 3,000 subs, and we're actually getting really, really close. If you're new to this channel, I would love to have you here, so please consider hitting that subscribe button, leave your comments down below with your thoughts because I read every single one. I most likely will respond. Now let's talk about The Last of Us Season 2. I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not going to go into any spoilers regarding the future episodes and what they entail. I'm just going to talk about full spoilers for everything in these 3 episodes, as well as the events in the game that go up to this point. Because right off the bat, there's things that happen in the 3rd episode that have not yet happened technically in the game. There's also various differences, so let's go ahead and get into it. I think Part 2, the video game, is such a cinematic game that I really was expecting the show to do the exact same thing. The 1st episode is titled Future Days, and we don't even get the scene of Joel playing the guitar to Ellie singing that song. Maybe we will get that later on, but it didn't happen in the show when it was supposed to happen in the game, same setting and everything. So at that moment at the very beginning, I was like, okay, I have to let go of all of my deep love for the scenes of the 2nd game and just kind of go with what they're going to be telling in this show. I think similar with Season 1, I'm able to separate the two and love both in different ways. It's just going to be really hard for them to tell the story like they do in the Part 2 game in the same way and have me love it as much just because I'm such a diehard fan of it. I think the biggest change that these first couple episodes bring to us immediately is Abby. We do get an introduction to Abby in the beginning of the game, of course, with what happens to Joel, but that's pretty much all we see of her at the beginning of the game. It's actually not until like halfway through the game where you get to get more information about Abby. Whereas here we learn that the doctor Joel killed in the show was Abby's dad already. And while I'm not a writer, a critic, director, whatever, I do think I prefer the way they handled Abby's storytelling so far, at least in the game, but I'm really excited by what they're doing in the show because it's new and I'm still really enjoying it. I would have maybe just liked to hold off on revealing Abby's backstory maybe till a little bit closer towards the end of the season, because most importantly, I think that this game is going to span multiple seasons now, seeing where we are just with the 3rd episode. They could honestly even do 2 to 3 seasons just off of this game alone. Now to switch gears, I think that Caitlin Denver is playing a great version of Abby that is very different from the game. She's not big and buff, but she still gives that, heart-wrenching performance where you're like, what's wrong with this girl? We've got to learn more. I already love the guy who's playing Owen, and I think the whole Seattle crew with Abby has been very well cast. Another character that's been really prevalent in these first 3 episodes that's not in the game at all is the therapist. Catherine O'Hara is like making this original character so compelling, so interesting, and just I want more of her. It's so wild because, again, like I said, I'm in love with the 2nd game so much that I don't really want them to touch anything, but this is such a good, cool addition. Especially with the relationships between Joel, Ellie, and her being the wife of Eugene, who was a minor character in the game. I think there's more to be revealed. Although we're in Seattle now, so I don't know how much we're going to be getting with her, but everything she's been in so far has been wonderful. Speaking of Seattle, let's just kind of shift gears. We're already there. In the game, the timeline pretty much Joel and Ellie not really getting along. We're not sure why, and then we have the dance scene where Dina and Ellie kiss and Seth gets involved. That's pretty much the exact same, but the events that happen afterwards are a little bit cloudy. We know Ellie and Joel have that final conversation on the porch, but I don't think all is revealed yet because in the game, it's definitely not all revealed. That's saved for way later in the game, and in the show, we have Ellie kind of lying about what their final conversation was in that whole therapy hospital release thing. Because another big change is that there's been 3 months since Joel's death. That was a little jarring for me because in the game, Ellie and Dina immediately go after Abby and her crew, but they logically explain it and I get it. The attack on Jackson, that was completely fresh. We had Joel actually being with Dina when they meet Abby's crew instead of it being Joel and Tommy, which was fascinating. And yeah, there's just a lot of little changes and I don't think they're really bad. Now, I will be honest, I was definitely worried about how Bella Ramsey was going to be betraying an older Ellie, but she's killing it so far. They made her look a lot older and I'm really excited to see her get to her more violent violent, revenge-filled self later on in the season. Now, before we go too far into episode 3 itself, I want to talk about the death scene of Joel. That's a scene where in the game, it kind of means something a little bit different than it does in the show. In the game, it really is kind of meant to throw you off guard and kind of just piss you off. Now, I'm not saying the show doesn't do that, because of course it makes you upset that this character is dead, but we have the game that really just makes you angry and want to immediately go after Abby. Whereas in the show, we have the revelation of Abby's character directly to Joel at this point in time. We have more kind of emotional beats, especially with bringing Joel's body back to Jackson that wasn't in the game. And I absolutely adore how they got Ashley Johnson to sing that song, who originally played Ellie in the games, as they're taking Joel back to Jackson. It's one of those situations where I actually think the death scene itself is better in the show than it is in the game. The one in the game is brutal, it's unforgiving, whereas the one in the show has a little bit more of an emotional punch. We get more time seeing Ellie's reaction to it, holding on to him, clinging to his dead body. Whereas the game, it's like, yeah, this is the beginning, good luck, this is gonna be dark, this is gonna be awful, in a good way. So episode 3, I love how they kept the scene of Ellie going to Joel's house, finding his watch, his revolver, and smelling his jacket. I love how that was kind of optional in the game, and they brought that into the show and made it, you know, fully canon. And this is honestly where Bella really sold me as an older version of Ellie, because she's crying, she's letting all of this emotion out, whereas the game version of Ellie, she's more dead inside than anything and keeps everything kind of locked in. And I do think that there is a little bit of internal harboring with this version of Ellie too, but she's kind of wearing her emotions on her sleeve in private. That, in combination with her lying to the therapist about how she feels about Joel's death, she's pretending that it really isn't impacting her, when we know that's the whole reason she's doing what she's doing. So it adds something new and fresh, whereas in the game we know she's going to want to get revenge, and we do as the player, so we get to control that. Another thing that they did with this episode that I wasn't expecting at all was showing the wolves and the scars already. They show us these two factions that are going to be at war with each other, with Ellie and Dina going to find Abby and her crew right at the beginning of the show, really. 3 episodes in and we already know these two groups. I think that's great, because in the game you kind of build up to them because they're your enemies that you have to fight and take down and learn about. I think this is fine. I just was a little shocked. Another scene that's in the show but was not in the game was the town hall meeting. This was really interesting, and I'm actually glad they included it, because it gives you another perspective of what other people are thinking. In the game, Jackson wasn't attacked. Joel is the only person who died, whereas here, many people did. So it's not just going to be Dina and Ellie going after Abby's group, it's going to be a lot of people, 16 I think. There's a lot more on the line, you're leaving Jackson vulnerable. It's very interesting how they're kind of upping the ante, making it not just about Joel. Do I like that? I don't know. I think the gravitas of Joel is more important in the game, because we had like, what, 7 years between the first one and the second one. We loved Joel so much playing as him in the first game and thinking we were going to be playing as him in the second game, but no, we're just playing as Ellie and another character. So in the game, I get it. You want to focus on Joel. The death of Joel is the main driving force, and I think it is here in the show as well, but they're kind of giving it a more realistic approach. The biggest surprise for me was Seth, who was just a very small character in the game, now becoming a little bit more of an involved character in the show. Seth, who made a horrible comment to Dina and Ellie during their kiss scene, is now kind of going to the aid of Ellie and supporting her and going for revenge. And I think that's a cool character development, not because it redeems Seth as a character, because I don't think it does. It kind of just adds fuel to Ellie's fire, showing that Ellie's plan for revenge is a very old school way of thinking, like Seth. So while she thinks Seth is coming to her aid, he's really just kind of reaffirming his own personality, and Ellie is kind of taking that on now. When they leave the gravesite and put the coffee beans on Joel's grave, I thought that was a beautiful touch, something that we didn't see in the game, and something that you're not really supposed to fully understand probably till, well, the end. I won't go any further because I know there's people who have not played the second game, and if you haven't, please find a way to play it. It's 10 out of 10. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say it. It's pretty much perfect. But then we just jump right to Seattle. I mean, we're already there. There's no traveling, there's no side quests or, game things that we have to go through in order to get to Seattle. We can just time jump. And that's exciting because I know what's going to happen next and I can't wait to see it. I think the biggest change that this show has done so far, at least in my opinion, is the relationship that's being built for Dina and Ellie. In the game, Dina and Ellie are very established as a couple, as a relationship going to Seattle, whereas here, they're kind of still just best friends with Ellie having a crush on her. This is very different, and I don't know if they're going to steer it a different way. I really hope not, considering where the game ends. I really hope we keep this relationship between Dina and Ellie as a romantic relationship, but she also mentions being with Jesse again before Ellie woke up from her coma, so that's really, really weird. Who knows? I mean, honestly, I think Dina and Ellie are going to end up together later on in the season, considering things that are going to happen. And I think there's more to be revealed about Dina as well, considering the final scene that we kind of see her in. She gets really sick after seeing the body of Scars, and well, I'm not going to elaborate more on that. We end the episode showing how big the WLF are, and I'm assuming we're going to go head to head with them next week with Dina and Ellie, and that's going to be super exciting. I think we're going to probably see a different storyline for Manny, because he's kind of the one who takes the knife to the face from Ellie during Joel's death scene, which is not the case in the game. Manny in the game has a much closer role to Abby in terms of friendship, and I think maybe Manny's just going to be a side character here that doesn't make it too far. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see, but he's with the WLF right now, not with Abby, Owen, Mel, and everybody else, so time will tell. I think maybe we're going to see Manny die next week. I don't know. And that's not a spoiler at all, because I think they're going to do something completely different from the game. It's just so fascinating because I love this story so much, and this is new, fresh, different, but it still has the same source material, I guess. Obviously, at this point, I can't say that the game is better or the show is better. I haven't seen the full thing yet. I will say it's going to be extremely, almost impossible to be better than the game for me, but this show I'm loving so far. Are some of the changes maybe a little bit odd? Maybe, I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen the full thing yet. We know the game itself takes place in a non-linear fashion at some point, so maybe this show is going to be doing the same thing. The order in which they're telling things is already very different than the order that they're showing in the show. So who knows what we're going to see next. We could be jumping around. We could get more time with Abby, but I personally think we should spend more time with Ellie right now and save Abby for maybe the 3rd season or the end of this season at least. Give me your guys' thoughts on that down below. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I will see you all very soon.